What would you do if you came home early to your mansion, only to find your maid in tears, begging you to stay quiet? That's what happened to billionaire David Marshall. But what he discovered that night wasn't about betrayal, theft, or secrets. It was something so powerful, it would change his life forever. Stay with me until the end, because the truth will shock you, and maybe even bring tears to your eyes. David Marshall was known as one of the most successful billionaires in the city. He built his empire with sharp instincts, endless work hours, and a heart that many believed was too cold to feel. Yet behind his steel image, David had a quiet emptiness. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him with a hollow mansion that money could never fill. One evening, David finished his business trip a day earlier than expected. His chauffeur dropped him off at the towering gates of his estate. The mansion was dimly lit, only a few warm glows shone from the servants' quarters. He entered quietly, intending to surprise the staff and see how they ran the house in his absence. But as he stepped into the long marble hallway, he heard soft sobs. He froze. The sound came from the servants' wing. Slowly, he followed, his polished shoes echoing lightly against the tiles, until he reached the door of his maid, Elena. Elena had been with the household for 5 years. Always respectful, always discreet. A single mother, she worked harder than most, never complaining. But tonight, her face was streaked with tears. She looked up, startled to see David standing there. "Mr. Marshall, please," she whispered urgently, "don't say a word, please, just stay quiet." David frowned. A maid telling a billionaire what to do was unthinkable. But something in her trembling eyes stopped him. Instead of speaking, he stepped inside silently. That's when he saw him. On the small cot by the window, a boy no older than 10 lay shivering, his face pale and sweat-soaked. Elena clutched his hand, murmuring reassurances. The boy coughed weakly, each breath sounding like a struggle. David's eyes softened. "Who is he?" he asked quietly. Elena hesitated, then whispered, "My son. Daniel. I didn't want anyone to know. If the agency found out I was hiding him here, I'd lose my job. I couldn't afford his treatments, and he's too sick to stay anywhere else. Please, sir, don't send us away." For the first time in years, David felt his chest tighten, not from anger, but from compassion. A child hidden in his own mansion, fighting for his life, while he was too wrapped up in his empire to ever notice. David could have fired her instantly. But instead, he asked, "What does he need?" Tears rolled down Elena's cheeks. "The hospital rejected us. Without money, they wouldn't admit him. He needs surgery. I thought if I just worked hard enough, saved every cent, maybe," she broke down. David sat on the edge of the cot, surprising even himself. He reached for the boy's hand. It was burning hot, fragile, but it squeezed back faintly. Something inside David broke. Memories of his late wife in her final hospital bed came flooding back, the helplessness, the anger, the longing to save someone you love. That night, David didn't sleep in his luxury master suite. He stayed by Daniel's side, calling in the best doctors from across the city. Within hours, his mansion became a private ward. Specialists examined the boy, and soon, surgery was scheduled. But it wasn't just about money. David personally stayed with Elena through every consultation, every terrifying moment, and every sleepless night. For the first time, the staff saw their billionaire not as a boss, but as a man with a heart. Days turned into weeks. Daniel's surgery was risky, but successful. Slowly, he began to smile again, his laughter filling the cold mansion with warmth. One evening, as Elena prepared tea in the kitchen, she turned to David. "Sir, I can never repay you. You saved my son's life." David shook his head gently. "No, Elena. You and your boy saved mine. This house was just stone and glass until the two of you brought life into it." And from that day, David's life changed. He didn't just gain a family he never knew he needed, he learned that sometimes, the greatest wealth isn't in fortune or power, but in the love we choose to share. And so, the billionaire who once lived alone in his cold mansion found himself surrounded by the laughter of a boy and the gratitude of a mother. Sometimes, the greatest surprises in life aren't the ones we fear, but the ones that open our hearts. Because true riches aren't counted in dollars, but in love, compassion, and second chances.